How to take photos at low light sports events. When shooting in low light, your photos are going to come out grainy, sometimes not sharp, and it's going to be an all-round horrible experience unless you know how to work around it. Now, the number one thing I would say for shooting in low light would be to have an f2.8 aperture lens. Without this, it's going to be near enough impossible to shoot fast-moving subjects with little to no grain and keep them sharp. Now, even if you have a 2.8 lens, you're still going to be shooting at around 4000 ISO at low light sports event, depending on what sport you're shooting, and so your images are still going to have a bit of grain. As much as they'll be a bit sharper than if you don't have a 2.8 lens, they're still going to have a lot of grain on there, and you're going to need to clear that up in your edit. Now, when editing in Lightroom, depending on what device you're using, if you're on a fast laptop, you can use the new AI denoise feature, which works incredibly, but it can sometimes take a while to process. So if you're on a tight time frame, this next tip is going to be for you. When editing night pictures, I see so many people editing them the same way that they edit a day picture, which is just not the way to go at all whatsoever. When editing a day picture, you've got a low ISO, low levels of grain, and lots of sunlight to work with. However, at night time or in a low light environment, you haven't got features to your disposal. Now, the first thing I usually do is bring the shadows down a little bit and mask the background and just bring the shadows down even more in the background. This will minimize the grain, especially if you're shooting outside at night. And then as a final touch, I'll bring the luminance noise reduction up to around 25 to 35, depending on how grainy it is. And this usually clears up enough grain whilst keeping detail in the picture and without it looking airbrushed.